We've got some more details about what happened during the brawl following the Cars Tour race at Hickory. Specifically, it sounds like Jack McNelly was pushed to the ground by Andrew Grady, and then Trayton Lapcevich's team jumped in to defend McNelly, and then all kind of chaos broke loose. Before we get to this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at John Trent Racing. So let's kind of start at the very beginning here, and then we'll get into this new information that just dropped within the last hour. So it all happened here during the race. Andrew Grady was kind of holding up the line. You can see him racing here against Butterbean Queen, Brendan Queen in the number 5, Andrew Grady in the number 1 Baby Ruth car. Connor Zilich is in that Cale Yarborough throwback right behind. And you can see here that people were getting tired of Grady holding him up, and Queen kind of gives him the door, pushes him up the track. And this was kind of how it was going for Grady here in these like last 20 or so laps here before he eventually gets spun out off the nose of Landon Huffman. So let's kind of take a look at this here. You can see Queen gives him the door, gets him up out of the way. Grady then comes back, gives him a shot into the corner, doesn't really affect him. And then Zilich would kind of work his way too. There would be some shots from Mason Diaz, but this was just really tough, really hard, good racing here. And eventually though, about 10 laps later, we get right here, 10 laps later, we would see the accident here involving Huffman and Andrew Grady. So let's take a look at this right here. You can see Mason Diaz gives him the door there, kind of pulls up, gets in front, kind of brake checks right there, slows up. Grady has to check up. Huffman has nowhere to go, runs into the back of Grady. Even Carson Quaffle runs into the back of Landon Huffman there. And nothing really, I think, Huffman could have done there. And it just happened to be where Grady was, made contact with him. And not enough time to really check up. Clearly, I think if anyone's going to blame, I guess it's Diaz, but he was obviously trying to keep Grady behind him. I don't think there was anything wrong with that. Just kind of good, hard racing, just a racing incident there. I don't think anyone did anything wrong. But if Andrew Grady was going to blame anyone, I don't think it would have been Landon Huffman. You think it would have been Mason Diaz, who looks like he brake checked him there and caused him to check up, got into the back of him, and then had Huffman kind of close in, not knowing that brake check was coming, and getting into the back of him there. And so following the accident, though, Grady decided to take out his displeasure, not on Mason Diaz, but on Landon Huffman. You can see here he's going to track down Huffman here, walking down the backstretch there with his Hans device, and he's going to throw it at Landon Huffman's car. There's Butterbean, there's Zilich, there's Mason Diaz. He runs up and throws it right at Huffman, completely misses the window net there and hits like the bottom of the door. And so then following all of this, he spoke with Jacqueline Drake in the pits, and he basically threatened Landon Huffman, saying he was going to physically confront him. Let's take a listen.
That incident, I know we were just talking a little bit about it, but for the viewers, what happened there with Landon and you?
In the words of Denny Hamlin, Landon Huffman's a hack. It's no wonder he lost his ride with the 22. I mean, man, we're 60 laps in, running 12th, 10th, whatever the hell it was. He just never turned me loose. So now, brand new race car's killed, and he's still racing, but it's all good. I'll catch him after the race.
So there you go, saying he was going to catch him after the race. I think there's definitely a threat of physical confrontation there. Obviously, he hadn't seen the replay, so he doesn't really know exactly what happened in that moment. But he would reiterate much of this in a interview that he gave with Front Stretch following the wreck. I'm not sure when exactly this happened. You would think he would have been able to potentially look at the replay here on Flow Racing. I know I've been in the pits. You can pull up the Flow Racing, at least at Dominion. I'm not sure what the internet is like at Hickory, but one would assume that you would be able to pull up the Flow Racing app, look at the replay, and see it. So he probably should have been able to see the replay here, and it looks like he does, because he talks about how Huffman's car kind of makes contact with him. Maybe that's how he felt it in the car, and maybe that's how he was explaining it, but I think he might have seen the replay at this point. But he reiterates many of the points he made to Jacqueline Drake there immediately following the wreck. But let's take a listen here.
We're at Hickory for Throwback Weekend. You're not happy? Obviously not. What happened there?
In the words of Denny Hamlin, Landon Huffman, you're a hack. It's no wonder you lost your ride with the 22. You're a trash panda, bud. I don't know what are we doing? We're 60 laps in. We're running for 12. Turn me loose. I mean, for God's sakes, man. Like, I know we're racing. I know we got to go. I get it. But when you've got me like that, when you have me sideways, crack the throttle, That's a brand new race car, and that race car's killed. But it's okay, because before he leaves, he will know I'm pissed. I promise you.
So there will be a conversation at least with him.
Yeah, me and him are talking. I don't care if it's here in the parking lot or at Waffle House at 3 a.m. Him and I are going to have a conversation before we leave this racetrack, because that was bullshit. This is why the car stores become a problem. Instead of setting guys up like we used to do back in the day, if you can't pass them, wreck them. I don't understand. Were we good? No. Were we decent? Yes. Dude, if you're that much better than me, turn underneath me and drive by me. Don't destroy my race car. Too much time, too much effort goes into this for dumb shit like that to happen. But thanks, Gildan, Torp Chassis.
So that is what Andrew Grady had to say there. And then, obviously, the race would end because they're about halfway through the race here. I think it was a 125 lap race. And obviously, they were like 60 laps in, so they're halfway through. And then a brawl broke out. So we can take a look at this right here. At the end of the race, it was unclear at the time what exactly happened, but let's take a look here. This is the coverage from Flow. So I think we're already halfway through. Someone's getting thrown down there. There's people kind of dogpiling. Other people are trying to pull people apart. Just kind of mayhem breaking loose. You can see people trying to keep people off each other. I think if you look here, let me back it up real quick. You can see Jack McNelly is already kind of over here talking to Trayton Lapsevich. He has kind of been pulled away from whatever happened. He's up here. I think that's him right there. So that'll be key to point in. But let's kind of, yeah, right there. It's very easy to see. I think he might be talking to Lapsevich there. It's hard to tell who that is. But here's another look at it from front stretch. We have a couple of angles of this, so we'll take a look at a bunch of them. So you can see Millington is coming in. This is a little bit earlier. So you see Grady's kind of getting pulled away here. Grady's over here. He's getting pulled away by his team. And then this guy is trying to get pulled off. And you can see these are all Grady's teammates and Trayton Lassiter's team. And then there's obviously, that's where we saw the Flow Racing cut in there. And there's a punch being thrown. Another punch. Guy getting thrown. Tackled. I think that guy looks like he's with Lapsevich, potentially trying to keep, because these guys here are Torp, which is Grady's team, the Torp Gear guys, and I think it's like TDKP. Those guys are Grady's people. And then the ones with like in Mirion or something are Lapsevich with the blue and green here. That's Lapsevich's team. But you can see, where is he? I think McNally's back here. He's back over here. You can see him. He's already kind of been pulled away. He's being kept away. And you'll see him kind of move over and kind of confront Grady. Says something to him here. Let's take a listen. So you can see there, that's McNally confronting Grady right here, kind of up in his face with his finger wagging. The police have like moved in now and are separating them. So there's like, obviously you punched me first, yada, yada, yada. It's like who he says, she says, right? So that's the front stretch stuff. Obviously, Grady gets escorted away at the end of the video. Here's another look at this. This is from Elijah Burke. So I think McNally is right here again. He's already kind of walked away. He's talking to someone over here, almost like he doesn't realize what's happening, because then he has to kind of be pulled away because the fight is kind of coming towards him. I think this kind of maybe starts before the front stretch video, but it's still hard to tell because Like, there's obviously a confrontation here happening with Grady, it looks like. And then it's really hard to tell what happens because I think Grady might be there. Okay, this is maybe just right after the front stretch video starts. So we kind of see the same thing there. And then here's another one. This one is from Evil Muffins. Let's take a look at this one.
Race car members, not sure who's in the center of that pile. All the while, Ronnie.
So there you go. I mean, that kind of just gives you a little bit of a different angle. But let's get to this here. We do have this from Landon Huffman. He says that Andrew Grady actually threw dirt and grass into his window as he was coming down pit road. But Grady never actually approached him or came to him and said anything, obviously reacting to that front stretch interview right here. So this is what Huffman says. Dude throws dirt and grass in my window when I come down pit road, but sure as hell never came and said a word. So I think this is kind of where it all started. It sounds like Grady threw a piece of dirt clod at Landon Huffman, and maybe Jack McNelly confronted him, telling him no. And then, what are you doing? Maybe got in his face, and Grady maybe reacted to that, obviously trying to piece that together. We don't have video footage of that right now that I have seen of that, but that does seem to be what happened. And then this is the most breaking news right here. Huffman posted this, just so everyone knows, my crew had zero part in any type of post-race fight. Grady did not even approach my car post-race. This fighting has nothing to do with any of my Huffman Racing or Carroll Speed Shop crew members. So that seems very clear. And then Trayton Lapsevich, whose crew was involved, he actually kind of gave us a lot of information here. He says, since there hasn't really been good coverage of the whole story, Jack McNally was trying to escort Grady back to his trailer after throwing dirt at Landon's car, after Grady threw dirt at Landon's car. Andrew pushed Jack to the ground, and he hit his head hard, which caused our crew to step in and break it up. So that seems to be what happened here from Trayton Lapsevich, who is one of the Cars Tour competitors on the series. So that seems to be what is going on. I expect there will be massive amounts of penalties for Grady. I already expected him to be suspended at least one race and put on suspension, given the fact that he threw the Hans device at Huffman's car. We saw them dole out a similar penalty to Connor Jones last year when he did the same thing. Given the fact that Grady was now throwing a dirt clod at Landon Huffman as well, and then seemingly got physically violent with Jack McNally, I expect that there will be significant penalties for Andrew Grady. I would not... it might be possible that he might get a lifetime ban. I would not think that would be off the table here. It could be really, really bad for Andrew Grady. I will definitely be following this for sure, but I expect significant penalties from the Cars Tour. We've seen comments from Dale Earnhardt Jr., Kevin Harvick, that they do not want to have any kind of behavior like this. They seem to have a zero tolerance policy for it, and they are going to crack down on it. So I expect significant penalties for Andrew Grady and his team and anyone involved in that fight. We'll see what happens with Lapsevich's members, given the fact that they were in it and they were seemingly trying to defend Jack McNally. But I would not be surprised if maybe there's something involved some of his team as well, given the fact that there was a brawl that kind of ensued and there were so many people involved. But I expect significant and harsh penalties for Andrew Grady and his team after his actions here. I mean, and there's a lot, right? There's obviously the Hans device. There is the throwing of the dirt at Huffman's car, and then obviously the violence that took place with Jack McNally there on the pit road as well. But this is the latest we have on this. I will be continuing to cover this, but let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below.